Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I am the lead learner at the SCEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves Cool. You can find out more about what we're doing at Cool at cool.us. That's CEWL.us. You can sort of see the URL there. Just go ahead and check us out. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Be Cool. And we would love to connect with you. So if you're watching tonight, you're not already a member of the SCEA, please head on over to the scea.org/connect. We'd love to connect with you. And right now, you can join the SCEA if you're an educator in South Carolina or a support professional. You can join our movement and pay no dues until September, which is pretty awesome. So you'll get all of the rest of June and July and August at no cost, and then your dues won't start coming out till September, which is a great way to come on and give us a shot, try out all of our benefits and learn more about our movement. You can do that at jointhescea.org, or you can use your phone to text the word join to 48744. It's been a little while since we've had our last live stream. Last week, we had an amazing educator mindfulness retreat in Black Mountain, North Carolina. We're going to do another retreat. It's already sold out. It's with the staff from On Track Greenville. We're going to be doing that in Old Fort, North Carolina next week. But we will be announcing future retreats coming up. So please make sure to look out for those, which is one reason why you want to connect with us at Cool and the SCEA. I also want to mention that we will have a trauma-informed education workshop on July 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the SCEA headquarters in Columbia. And you can do that little QR code, or you can just go to the Cool website at cool.us and learn, and the link is there. This is free for members of the SCEA and $40 for non-members. And it is going to be facilitated by myself, along with Karen Beeman and Jennifer Dollar, who are co-directors of Columbia College's Masters in Trauma-Informed Education program. So it's going to be a really great day. Lunch will be provided. And again, if you're a member of the SCEA, this is a free lunch and a free workshop. If you're not a member, it's only $40. So if you're even thinking about joining, now's a great time to join. That way you can get to go to the workshop for free. You get all kinds of crazy benefits, and you won't pay any dues till September. So just want to encourage you, little plug there for that event coming up. So we are really excited that our members create content, and we would love for you to create content too. One person who creates content for us is a guy named Pete Stone. He's from Chester County, and he made this video a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to share it with you before we start tonight's programming.
It's hard to feel trusted when politicians and districts will pretend to say, yes, we think there's too much testing, and we have a great solution for it. We're going to have even more testing. Of course, it's not going to be called tests. We'll call it something like benchmarks or common formal assessment. And then if you complain, we'll just accuse you of being negative and try to gaslight you. And then we'll have PLCs, and those will really be opportunities to not share best practices, but to come up with more tests to give students we just said are over-tested. So it's all about testing, because you trust the test instead of the people. And it's time to admit that the bad test results are maybe showing there's a problem with the tests themselves. It's been proven how biased these tests are, and what they are largely showing are districts from more prosperous economic areas than those that are not. And yet we still keep serving these tests and forcing our teachers, students, and parents to serve the test. So if you really want to show appreciation for teachers this year, then trust us. Trust the students, trust the parents, and listen to your people instead of listening to so much just the test. You get information from tests? Yeah, but could that time, money, and resources be so much better spent in more meaningful, magnificent ways? Yes. There's no bad guys. Any individual politicians, district offices are really just trying to do what they think. They think they're helping. I know sometimes I'm sure I think I'm helping and I'm not, and it's hard, but if I get called out for it, say, okay, let me be open to it. So, no one's accusing anybody of being a bad guy, but what we're doing ain't working. In the words of Vivian Ayers, omniscience is not the proper place for man. Magnificence is, and magnificence cannot be measured in A, B, C, or D.
Stay in the woods.
I love that video. Thanks so much to Pete Stone. Perfect video, with the exception of the hat. If he just got rid of the Clemson hat, that would be the perfect video. Anyway, just kidding. Tonight's guest is going to be talking to us about teacher retention for novice teacher. She has been working at Chapman High School. She is currently the assistant principal for curriculum and instruction at Chapman High School in Inman, South Carolina. She's a PACE certified educator. She served for over 17 years as a classroom teacher, instructional coach, and administrator. She's interested in providing support to new educators at both the district and school level to ensure that novice teachers remain in the classroom. A very, very important issue. So let's bring in Amy Driggers. Amy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're aware, but we're really excited through the grant that we got through the NEA, the GPS grant. We were able to hire Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. She just came on board June 12th, and she's going to be doing some induction work with us. So Cool is going to have a strong emphasis and focus on supporting these new teachers in a handful of districts who are having some teacher attrition issues. But I want you to talk about, first of all, how did you get an education? And, what's been your journey and your pathway into the field?
Well, it was pretty meandering, to be honest with you. When I was in school, I was the daughter of a teacher, granddaughter of a teacher, niece of teachers, and I never dreamed that would be my plan. I went to college and majored in biology, went to medical school and majored in biomedical science there, planning to do a lot of things more laboratory based. I found when I got there, I was very unhappy. Competent, but just something wasn't right. So my husband and I moved. He's a teacher as well. We moved, and very shortly into our time here, there was a need for a long-term sub in AP biology, anatomy and physiology, etc. So I had no idea what I was doing, but I had the content. So they asked me, "Hey, would you come in and give it a shot?" And within days, I knew that's where I belonged. So I definitely came around the backside. I career changed. And I came in through the PACE program back in 2001, 2002, earlier in its I guess its history. And I knew from then on. And so I've been in the classroom since.
So how did you get connected to this work with sort of mentoring and working with these novice teachers?
Well, I'll tell you, my experience, I had wonderful administrators and wonderful teachers, but those programs were not really defined very well. Back in that time, we had induction, which helped me with all of the jargon, with all of the things that I'd not learned because I came around, again, through not a traditional education program. They helped me learn all the big ticket items, but the kind of day-to-day functions were what made me real frustrated and scared and all those things that I think a lot of first-year teachers felt. So after a couple of years, a co-teacher and I, just through conversations about, how can we help? Like, now we've got our feet under us. What can we do? We realized that as good as the induction programs were, there was a need for something that was more specific to the building and more responsive to the teachers as they were in those first couple of years, and that it extended beyond the first 2 years where, they received some support through induction mentors and then even during the in-depth evaluation year. So we extended it out to 3 years. So this teacher, Dr. Drew Timmons, and I proposed to our principal, hey, could we do this? And he was on board, and it grew from there. But it really was based on what we could witness and how we felt as young teachers, and knowing that our administrators are so overwhelmed with responsibilities, we looked for ways that we could contribute. And Novice Network is what we call it at our school, and it was born out of that. And it's changed. It's over the years there's been some adaptations to it, and it will continue to serve teachers as the needs change.
I went through Sarah's mentor training and became a certified mentor trainer, and I also train the trainer training, which is always funny. Train the trainer training. Talk a little bit about sort of like how your program sort of dovetails or maybe supplements, complements the sort of statewide mentoring and induction initiatives.
Yes, sir. So those, relationships we encourage, of course, because they're so valuable. We're careful and a part of the administrative team makes the matches between teachers and their mentor to ensure the best that we can, that there are personality, coordination there, that there's content area, all the things that go into making a practical relationship between a mentor and a mentee. So we're involved with those things initially. And this program is not intended to override that or interfere with it. It is just an extra level of support that focuses on teacher needs as expressed either through the teachers. We do temperature checks throughout the semester, throughout the year, and adapt what we have planned, for what they need, or through observation. As we see things that they seem to be struggling with, we will design these sessions around their demonstrated needs. Not something we predict, not something that we think they might need. We plan as the team, and I do need to say this clearly. Now that I am an administrator, I am part of the planning initially, but I stepped back. It was designed to be master teachers who are doing this, not to have an administrative layer. And that was important for us because we wanted to be a place where young teachers could be honest, open, without any fear of expectation or anything from an administrative or evaluative standpoint. So it's actually, I'm there for the discussions, but our teachers, actually, the team of teachers is who runs it. And so they will come up with a theme typically every year, just because that's what we do, right, as educators. So, they'll have a theme that maybe as a kickoff for our initial session. And then from that point on, each remaining session throughout the school year is designed around what we observe or what the teachers express need for. Like, for example, last year they told us our lesson planning, we're struggling. We write the plan, it feels good. We go in, it doesn't either amount to what we wanted it to, or it doesn't get as deep as we wished. So, we did a whole, multi-part series on lesson planning, not because we thought they needed it necessarily, but because they expressed the desire to learn and practice that. So I think that's one of the things that is different about our program, is that it's not something that we lay out a syllabus, in the summertime that we follow stringently to the end. We put some things in there that we think may be, of concern. But then we certainly adapt based on the teacher's needs. And we differentiate within that, because certainly a first-year teacher's needs are going to be quite different from one in their third or even fourth and fifth year. We've expanded all the way up to the fifth year. And that also gives our old teachers in the fourth and fifth year some opportunities for leadership. They can practice some leadership within our group and gives them a lot of confidence to kind of go out and start doing it more in our school. A lot of young teachers are hesitant to do that. And so I feel like it's a kind of a good safe spot for them to launch into their leadership roles as young teachers.
We know that, at least in the previous research, I'm not sure how current this is, but there was a statistic around 44% of teachers are lost within the first 5 years of the profession. And I can't imagine that number is better since that data came out. I'm sure that it's potentially worse. We're seeing a growing teacher recruitment and retention issue, and this is particularly problematic in those first few years. You mentioned your program tailoring to the needs of those new teachers, and you mentioned lesson planning. What are some other areas where you're seeing teachers who are really struggling and leaving the profession? What are some of those core reasons why you see teachers leaving your school or district? You have your finger on the pulse there, so I'm wondering
Sure.
what you're seeing.
We're very fortunate. I will be frank with that. In our school and district, to have a very stable environment for our young teachers, for all of our teachers, actually. We really do not have the huge amount of turnover that I know is plaguing other districts. I certainly know with the things developing yearly that may not always be the case. For those that do leave the profession altogether, I find that it's a lack of balance. They don't really understand time management on their end. I think because they don't have a certain set of skills, or they don't know what to ask you. They're reluctant to ask for help sometimes because they feel like they should have it all together. And when you're looking outside, it looks like everybody else's classroom is running like a top, and you're not. And so I think there's a lot of isolationism that can occur, and that's one of the targets with our Novice Network, is to pull them out into a group. Again, I'm in a high school. We don't have the third grade team that meets and does things like that. We have departmental things, but if you're the only first year teacher in your department, which you may be in a small school like ours, you may not have the opportunity to realize that we're all struggling with this thing, or here's some strategies that work for your next door teacher who's also a first year teacher. So I feel like for us, some of the things is just frustration in general. We try to tackle that as best we can with the things to make their lives a little bit easier. And this sounds minor, and it is, but we have a summer orientation where we teach them and show them all the things that will make you a crazy person. Like, who do I call when XYZ happens? What do I do if this occurs? Who's my point person? Where do I find these items in the building? We try to really take away the things that we can. I can't always eliminate some of those behavior management things that happen in their class that they learn through practice and experience. But I can take away some of the other stressors that make them just add to that plate that is so deep. We also try to be very careful not to include them on things that require additional time. For example, if we're working on a big project for a curriculum or pacing guide overview, we certainly want their input, but I would not make them be a team leader. Adding things like that to them is unfair. They're in a different position. So, those sound simple, but we really try to sit and reflect with teachers. Again, our older teachers that are in that 4th or 5th year group, we ask them, like, what do we need to do? What could have made it even better for you? What are the things that made you crazy? And I think by asking those questions, and sometimes it hurts your feelings. You have to be willing to let your feelings get hurt. Sometimes they tell me things like, oh my gosh. And I feel badly because I didn't anticipate that being a problem, or I didn't realize that it was adding that much extra to their already overfull plates. And so, you got to be willing to let your feelings get hurt a little bit, to ask the questions, because they'll tell you. They really will. And I think because we've provided that safe environment with Novice Network, they'll tell those colleagues, because that's who it is. It's their colleagues. It's the other lady in room 308 down the hall from you who's running it. It's not your administrator or your district administrator. So we do a lot of surveying, and the things that we hear are just they're overwhelmed. They're building lesson plans. They're trying to understand unit plans. They're trying to do assessments. They're trying to understand how to serve an MLL population that's exploding in our area. They're trying to learn how to provide appropriate accommodations. There's just so many things that I think they get scared, they get overwhelmed. And if you're not careful, it makes them leave.
Yeah. And that was really one of the main sort of reasons why we created the Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. Our mission is to improve the inner and outer lives of educators. Mm-hmm. And what I hear you saying is that on the outer part, there's just this sense of having so much to do and not enough time to do it. And I think that is prevalent no matter where you are in the continuum, whether you're a beginning teacher or a veteran teacher. I think maybe veterans have learned some shortcuts, or, maybe there's some sort of shorthand ways to do what they do, or they've learned ways to be a little more efficient. But it's still, I feel like most teachers are sort of bearing that weight of just feeling like there's just so much to do and no more time to do it. And then what we're trying to couple that with is some inner resources. And I wanted to ask you, what are you doing with those feelings of being overwhelmed, which could lead to stress and anxiety and mental health issues? Are there any things that you've done that have worked, that you've found they've found very helpful in that regard?
Yeah, I can tell you some things we've done more systemically, and then some things that are more individualized. So when I say systemically, when we're making a master schedule, and we're looking at who's going to teach what, again, I'm speaking from high school, I'm not going to build a set where a first or second year teacher's got 3 preps a day, like things like that seem minor. Right. But that's it's an intentional part of our planning, that we are going to minimize anything we can and we do it with purpose. Or if we look and see like, oh my goodness, class sizes. If anybody's going to get, a class size and we look and I see I've got, 32 kids per, I'm going to try to say, oh, is there any way we can redistribute those to give them a manageable class size? So there are some things that we have systemically that we look at through the lens of, all right, is this serving our novice teachers, or is this adding an undue burden to them? So those are some of the things. But we also have a lot of resources for mental health in our district. We do have support from our lead administrators from the district level. And I've had to have some, very serious conversations individually with teachers, with the door shut about, we got to get some help. You need some help for yourself. And we facilitated that before, help them. Again, a lot of these kids, young teachers are new to our area. They don't have connections. So something as simple as helping them find wellness care
Yes.
outside of, is something we do just as a matter of being a good human, and being a good leader. I've covered many a class, like, when a kid is breaking, when a young teacher is, and you can see it on their, I don't care what anybody says, you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it and you can feel it. There's been many times where I said, you know what? I got this. Go to the conference room, have a cup of coffee, go home, or whatever we need to do. We can tackle this tomorrow and figure out what's going on. I think being understanding and listening is a big part of it. Now, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it strains your leadership who wants to be, I want to be all things to all people. So sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough to give. But I think that being present and also being willing to help themselves is incredibly important. So yes, we have some things that are programmatic, things that are helping them with their instructional needs or helping them this, that, or the other. But we also have developed close relationships with our teachers so that they will tell us, like, I think I need some assistance. And I've done that. Let's reach out together and come up with a plan that can help you get through it. Because oftentimes it's just a phase. If we can get through just a few weeks together with some adaptations, you're okay. We can help. And I think just the willingness to do that goes a long, long way to retaining your teachers.
Yeah. It's really about, I think, balancing this idea that these are human beings who have these human needs. And then they're also, people that are trying to practice a craft and develop a craft, and they have needs in that area as well to become more effective at what they're doing, because that feeds that sense of efficacy, certainly feeds a feeling of confidence and can help with some of the feelings of being overwhelmed or stressed out. And when you feel like you're competent and you're capable of doing the job versus just like, gosh, I don't know if I got in the right profession. I wanted to ask you about this, since this is you're on a live stream with the SCEA. We're an educator advocacy organization. We feel like it's really important that all educators, no matter where they are in the continuum, invest in being advocates for their profession. Do you think that's asking too much for novice teachers to advocate for the profession? At what point is it appropriate in your experience to really kind of promote or push that for educators? Because we know that their plates are already full, and then we're asking them to be advocates on top of it. What are you seeing in terms of advocacy with these new teachers?
What I have found just in my limited experience is that they tend to do it more internally. They may talk with other teachers, department heads, instructional specialists, or whatever, whoever, in our case, some of their, helpers with Novice Network. I find that they tend to more be comfortable in those environments. I don't know in the teachers that I've worked with if they have felt capable or competent or ready yet to be more vocal. But I do think that what they see is very, very valuable. And I like to listen to it because no one, except them has come to be a novice teacher right now, but them. My experiences when I was a new teacher are only slightly comparable to what they are
That's right.
experiencing. And so I think that's critically important, and why I would like to, if my teachers don't feel like they are ready to dive wholly into, an advocacy movement, or they don't know that they really have enough to say yet or how to say it, I'm glad that they feel like they can tell us, because I don't know what it's like to be a brand new teacher in 2023. I
And
don't. I knew what it was like to be a brand new teacher 20 years ago. I knew what it was like then. My ability to understand is only goes so far, and so I hope that our younger teachers, and I keep saying younger teachers, but what I really mean is our new teachers, regardless of their chronological age, our
right.
newest teachers will be vocal, even if you're not feeling like you can do it in certain styles, but talking with the people that you trust and that you know in your district, because oftentimes I miss things as a district leader or a school leader, not because I'm, not interested, but I just don't understand it because my experiences was
Right.
quite different. And so I really hope that that is what will happen, that they will feel more empowered in their own district, in their own schools, to share. And I think that comes as, a function of the culture in your school and district. I'm just as willing to listen to a teacher who's been at it 6 months as I am, a veteran, because I'm getting two perspectives on a singular problem. And as an old science teacher, the more information that I have, the more data I have, whether it's anecdotal or not, the better decisions I can make as a school leader. Like what's really going on here? Are these things external problems, or are these problems here in the place that I'm responsible for? And how can we work together to both correct it here and, again, more broadly in the state or in the nation, as you start to look for opportunities to share.
Do you see like I don't know if you watched the video that I showed with Pete. My theory is similar to Pete's, that a lot of the issues of being overwhelmed and stressed out and sort of just for misaligned, I guess, a sense of misalignment or a sense of like uh, just not feeling like the profession is what you maybe thought it would be. I think a lot of that stems out of the overemphasis on standardized testing. That's at least my theory, that a lot of the problems that we're facing. Do you do feel free to challenge that, but do you see that? Do you see like the role that testing is playing on creating this sort of system where these novice teachers are really immediately under pressure to perform and have high test scores? And do you think that maybe if we could address that particular issue and de-emphasize standardized testing, still have assessments and ways to hold people accountable, but maybe less of an emphasis on these bubble in tests, that would take some of the pressure off and allow people to go back to I hear a lot of teachers complaining that it's become more of like a paint by numbers kind of profession rather than an artistic profession that it used to be, where we really had autonomy and voice and choice and the ability to really create and be innovative in the classroom. Whereas now it feels like, at least in a lot of places I visit, where everybody's forced to have the same kind of lesson plans, the same textbooks, the same homework, the same kind of thing going on, and it feels like that strips some of the joy out of the profession. What are you seeing with that regard? And do you sort of, I'm talking too much, but what are your sort of thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I can only speak to my experience in my area where I have been. I don't have a ton of experience in other districts. I know that in my district, there is still substantial amounts of professional autonomy with the teachers in our buildings, and that has gone a long way to that retention piece that we talked about at the beginning. Is why we have low turnover, is because we have a district leadership that trusts our abilities and our judgments. Now, there is still certainly anyone who has test scores associated with their name or with their profession, and they take teaching so personally because they pour their hearts so deeply into it. Those pressures are going to be there, whether they're internal. At least what I've seen with our teachers and myself when I was teaching and doing a biology EOC, I cared very deeply about what that looked like, about what it demonstrated as far as my competence. So I certainly believe that any kind of testing like that is going to have an added burden, or whether it's applied internally or externally. I will say I can speak to my area where I am from and where I've worked to say that professional autonomy is critical. Because at the end of the day, our students have to have X amount of standards taught with the requirements for the courses. They've got to have those skills. Uh, our focus is on why do we need the skills? Do we need those skills just to satisfy a testing data, or do we need those skills to make us successful in our life choices and our next steps after this? So we have tried to focus very, very hard on those, just giving us indications of students, what they need and what they have and what they lack. But I can imagine that in other places where those things have been pulled away, that certainly would add to the stress that you see already in a very complex profession.
Right.
And I can't imagine how that would feel again, because I've always had that support to have that. Oh, and also you better hit this mark, or else you're going to, be challenged as far as your abilities. So I certainly think that if that's the case in a district, if you're a young teacher and you're experiencing that it would certainly add to
Right.
your I guess just defeatism that you would feel. I've been very fortunate, and I know but that's also something we brought into our leadership is, how do we develop the teachers so that they can meet those goals with students without feeling like that's their primary responsibility.
That's a hard balance to strike for sure.
Sure.
What have we not covered that you want to, since we're running out of
Oh
time?
gosh, already, gosh, it was so quick. I'll
Yeah.
just say that, one of the things that I really advocate for any school is to create some kind of grassroots homegrown program that suits your culture, your climate, and your needs. Have it be responsive to students, but based in research and data. We do a lot of things that are about, not just stuff that we come up with, but we talk about building relationships, building community amongst your teachers, taking care of their wellness and mental health. We really use resources that help teachers be practical. One of the things that Novice Network does that I just want to reiterate is this is not something just a feel-good experience. They leave with a tool, with a system, with something they can put into play. They do lots of peer observations, both ones that they choose, ones that we choose for them, so they can come see different things. We do lots of model lessons and lots of reflection and metacognition so that they can, grow. I mean, the model is, you teach a man to fish. Our model is not
Right.
give a man a fish, which I think so many programs for novice teachers do. They just give you a ton of resources, and just say, go do it. And that's not our system, but our outcomes have shown that the teachers are developing at a much faster rate than I did, than a lot of my colleagues did. The student outcomes, we've got the information to show that it works, and providing that mentorship that is collegial, but it's also professional is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I kind of like the metaphor of like teaching somebody to cook. You give them some recipes and some things so they can try out. But then what you ultimately want them to do is to be able to create their own recipes and be able to sort of build off of those things and do innovative, cool things with food and create new dishes and take it to a whole other level. I mean, that's where we need to go. And I feel like too many educators right now are like, it's just they're given a recipe book and said, just follow the recipes and just do that. And then they're never given the sort of bridge to move beyond that because it's so scripted and rigid. So I really appreciate what you're saying and so thankful that that's happening in your school and your district.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. We being born of two teachers who, an English teacher and a biology teacher who were just sitting there one day in a casual conversation and recognized the need. And we didn't model it after anything, friends. We didn't go through and try to find some program. It was literally just from people who'd served as mentors, both officially and unofficially, who just said, what's missing? What are we missing? And that's what the Novice Network has tried to fill, is just try to fill in those small gaps that will alleviate some of the growing pains that are inevitable for new teachers. So we love it. We're more than happy to share. Should anybody want information, we do have some documents that we have that are great to help springboard another school. And certainly it's one of my passions. I'd love to talk about it. So if ever, anyone needs, please don't hesitate to reach out.
And how can folks get in touch with you who are watching, who might want more?
Yes, so they can reach me at, my school email, which is Amy, AMY.Driggers, DRIGGERS, at SPART, SPART1.org. You can reach me there at any time, and I'd be more than happy to talk further, or visit, or we've had folks come in from all over the place to watch and see what it looks like in practice. So more than happy to help with that as well.
Okay, thanks so much, Amy. I appreciate your time, and it sounds like the teachers in your area are really benefiting from what you're building there, and I appreciate what you're doing. So thanks so much.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care, Amy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was Amy Driggers, everybody. Thanks so much to her for her time. Appreciate that. I want to, just in case you didn't catch it on the front end, want to remind you that we do have a trauma-informed education workshop. Karen Beeman and Jennifer Dollar from Columbia College's Masters in Trauma Informed Education program are going to be there. We're going to talk about trauma-informed education. We're going to have a free lunch. We're going to have these great discussions about trauma, and it is such an important topic. We really encourage you to come. It's free for members of the SCEA, $40 for non-members. So we hope that you'll plan on attending that. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on July 18th at the SCEA headquarters. You can scan this code, or you can go to cool.us. That's CEWL.us. And I believe at the top of that page, you should see information about this event. I just again want to thank Amy Driggers. Thank you for tuning in. I hope everybody who's out there is having a wonderful summer break. If you're on break and having some time to renew, re-energize, and to really think about what we need to do to advocate for our public schools moving forward. If you're watching this and you're not currently a member of the SCEA, first thing I'd like you to do is you can reach out to me. You can find me at Todd Andrew Scholl. Just go to Facebook and look for Todd Andrew Scholl. Find me, message me, we'll talk. I can tell you all about our organization, all about the movement we're trying to build. Or you can go to this website at the bottom, the scea.org/connect, and you can connect with us, and we'll reach out to you and find out more about what you need, what you're interested in. If you're interested in joining, you can do that right now. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a link, join the scea.org, or you can text the word join to 48744. Right now, we're still in early enrollment, which means that you can join now, and for the rest of June, all of July, all of August, there will be no dues taken out. No dues until September. So it's a great time for you to join, a great time for you to learn about our movement. Once you're in our movement, you can get plugged in. We are member-led. Our organization is led by our members. If you have a voice and you want to share it, we're going to give you platforms to do that and opportunities to do that. We have member organizers. We have all these great events that take place with the NEA, because when you join us, you're joining your local association, your state association, the SCEA, and you're also joining the NEA, which is the largest labor union in the United States. And yes, I said the word union. We are the only teachers union in the state of South Carolina. So we would love for you to join us, love to learn about our movement. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. And our union is open to classroom teachers, custodial workers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, administrators, school counselors. Anybody who's working inside a public school in South Carolina is welcome to join us. And we'd love to have you, because we're building collective power that we can use to create collective change. And that will result in the kind of schools that all of our educators and their students deserve. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I will be on retreat all next week. We do have some other events lined up coming up later on this summer. We'll be announcing those. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Be Cool, and you be cool and have a great week. Take care, everybody.